kitchen. Today, I'm going to do something that may seem completely out of character. I'm going to make you a mind-blowing dish called a tomato mayonnaise pie. Mayonnaise. That's right, I'm going to use mayonnaise. It turns out I just love making various things with these beautiful heirloom tomatoes, which by the way I got from Dorothy Stainbrook, and I'm going to go ahead and make something beautiful with them, but everybody's always telling me they want things that are quick, they want things that are easy. So for this dish, I'm going to make, instead of using a pastry crust to make this beautiful heirloom tomato tart, I'm going to spread a biscuit dough in the pan. And this biscuit is based on this old Southern recipe, or relatively new Southern recipe, which is a super simple recipe that is often made. How it's made is self-rising flour, milk, and mayonnaise. That's all. So I thought, wow, that seems so easy. Why don't I make a version of it that I can enjoy? So I'm going to use whole wheat pastry flour, baking powder, salt, white flour, and a little oregano to have it go well with the tomatoes, and basil I'm going to put on it at the end. I'm going to spread all that in a pan, and then I'm going to put the tomatoes on top. So for your viewing pleasure, I'm going to slice up these gorgeous tomatoes, and hopefully you will be able to see their beauty in this tomato pie. And as you can see, some of these heirlooms, some of these guys have a funny shape, so they're not going to be perfect little shaped rounds, but that's okay because they're tasty. So I'm going to slice up the tomato. Here goes mixing the dough. I'm going to put my unbleached white flour, whole wheat pastry flour, baking powder, salt, and oregano into this mixing bowl. Stir it up. And here I have a cup of oat milk. And I'm going to get my beautiful Aquafaba mayo. Oh, isn't that yummy looking? You too can make this. Delicious. So I'm going to mix the mayo into the milk. And it just sort of might seem a little bit, what would you say, a little bit lowbrow maybe, a little bit non-gourmet, a little bit, are you really a chef mixing mayonnaise into milk? Well, if it works, go with it. I've got nothing to be ashamed of here. So here we go. I'm going to mix the mayo and the milk into the flour. Now this is one of those things where it reminds, this mixture, once it's all stirred up, honest to goodness, it reminds me when I was a kid and my mom would get out the Bisquick. There's just something about this, the smell of it, the taste of it. Put that little piece of parchment on here, and I am going to put some oil on there, some olive oil, and spread it. So, and again, here we have this lovely biscuit batter, and you can just use this for biscuits. You get to this point, you realize you don't have any tomatoes, or you just don't want, this is just a great way to make an easy biscuit on a weeknight when you didn't have time to make something more complicated. And I think anything that helps you get fresh bread on the table is a good thing. And in this case, we've got a really beautiful whole grain flour in there. And then I'm going to put a little flour on my hands because I knew this was going to be, this is kind of a soft dough, soft and sticky. And so it's all right to put some flour on top. And that's actually going to help with all the juiciness of the tomatoes too. So you don't need a rolling pin. These would be, this is a nice soft dough that you would use as more of a drop biscuit, right? This is kind of super easy. Just scoop it out. I would just take a 1/4 cup measure, scoop this out. And bake each of those, throw those onto a sheet pan and call it good, right? Super easy. So here we go. Patted it out. A little bit more kind of rustic. That's what we like. And now I'm going to bring my tomatoes over. Big, juicy purples, just right down the middle. See what we can do there. I'm going to just cut the center out of this one. These heirlooms have all the flavor and the beautiful color, and sometimes they just have these little kind of green structures inside that aren't as beautiful, but it's worth it for the flavor. I'm going to lay some of these green striped tomatoes along here. See how pretty this is going to be. I'll overlap these a little bit. And I'll put this beautiful green and red striped tomato. I'm going to trim that a little bit. There's a little bit of core. But oh, these guys are juicy and flavorful. And I'm using these beautiful heirlooms. It's, August, it's summer, it's the time of year. But if you're making this some other time of year or you just crave it, the main thing about tomatoes is use the best tomatoes you can get. And there are times of year when that's going to be cherry tomatoes. Honestly, it's going to be those grape tomatoes you can get in wintertime. Oh, look at this beautiful orange beauty. Orange stripes. So the main thing about tomato varieties is use the best tomatoes you can get. Oh, I'm going to have to spread this out a little bit. Whatever is ripest, whatever has the most flavor. And I'm going to fill in with some of these cherry tomatoes that I've got, because it's all good. And this one, I think I'll cut it. So see, you can just arrange these however you see fit. I'm going to put some halves of this tomato over here. And all these colors. Can you believe it? How beautiful it is. So I'm going to just sprinkle some coarse salt on top. And then this baby's going in the oven. I'll let you know how it comes out. Welcome back. And now we get to see our tomato mayonnaise pie. The tomatoes are nice and tender, baked on top of that crust. And I'm going to do a little bit of zhuzhing, as it were, make it a little extra. So I'm going to cut up some basil. Of course, I've got lots of fresh basil. And what goes better with tomatoes and basil? So again, rolling it up a little bit so I can get a nice julienne. And then I'm going to strew the basil over these tomatoes. And it's a way also to kind of cover up any bare spots. And look at this baby. Oh, just admire. I can't believe how wonderful and tasty that looks. So the other zhuzh that I'm going to do, just to really take it over the top, is I've got my mayo, and I'm just gonna stir up a little bit of mayo and fresh lemon, just to make it drizzleable. That's a word, drizzleable. Something that chefs always say. Make it drizzleable. So this is now going to be pourable. And I'm going to cut a piece. Now I baked this for about 35 minutes until it was brown on the bottom. And I'm going to just put this on a plate. Make sure there's enough basil on there. And then just before serving, right, you don't do this too soon, is I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of more the Aquafaba mayo with lemon. Yes, yes, I did in fact make tomato mayonnaise pie. And yes, I'm sharing it with you because it's delicious. The tomatoes, the basil, and you would never think, oh, these biscuits are made with, or this crust is made with mayonnaise. It just tastes yummy. So in tomato season, bear in mind, you can always make tomato mayonnaise pie, and it's so easy and so simple. Honestly, you're going to want to do it. So please check out my website, robinasbell.com, for tons more recipes. Hit like, subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you're enjoying these things, and I'll keep making them. So happy tomatoes.